Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Brandon Correia, aka EF Hunt of Entertainment, and we are back with another TV show review. And the TV show we are reviewing today is The Boys, and we got The Boys episode 3 today. So let's get right into this review. So this episode was a little more mild mannered compared to the first two, and mild manner, in the context of The Boys being mild mannered, but there wasn't as much lawlessness and outlandishness, even though there was some in this episode as there were the previous two episodes. But nonetheless, it was still a very, very good episode, a very detailed, story-driven, plot-driven episode. A lot of things that the audience needed to be filled on with the story going forward, and certain kind of Easter eggs that they've dropped in the previous two episodes, they kind of more dove into in this episode. So let's get right into this. Spoilers ahead if you have not seen the episode. I know I'm late on this review, so I'm pretty sure if you come across this and you're watching this, I'm pretty sure that you have watched this already. So the episode starts with the boys back together, basically under the same roof, and Huey was gonna bring up like this kind of like a point about how he was gonna apologize, and Butcher was like, don't worry about it, it's good to just have all the boys back under one roof. And it honestly, it was nice to see all of them back on screen together, because obviously the first two episodes they weren't on screen because was like retired and Huey was working for Newman. And right away, Butcher mentions to the team that they are basically going on a mission, that they're going to, because of the information that he gathered from Gunpowder, I think is the Super Soldier Boy's like partner in the Payback group, like the old superhero group. Because of the information that he got from him, he obviously had to turn his attention to Grace Mallory, and he told the team that we're basically going to make a pop-in visit on her. And in the moment, Frenchie basically gets like an emergency call, and we don't find out from who yet, but he's like, I can't go, I have an emergency. And Huey's like, I'll go instead. Frenchie ends up meeting Sherry, and she basically mentions that she got in trouble again with, I guess, a Russian mob dealer that they used to deal with back in the day, and obviously she's bad news, and that she was like, I was selling cocaine for her, and I got 11 kilos boosted from me. So she's like, I need to get out of here. And she tries to convince Frenchie to come, but Frenchie's like, no, like I got my life here. I'm working for the CIA. Like I can't do that. So they part ways, and a lot through the episode there is the mission. Even though it's not really a mission, it's basically just Butcher and and Huey and Kimiko running up on Grace Mallory and finding out more about the information that they already have, which is where us as the audience are kind of introduced to Soldier Boy and more of Payback from Grace Mallory's perspective of when she first met them. Before I move on to this part, before they end up going to see Grace Mallory, because Huey's like still working for Newman, but she's like, I need a realistic excuse. He asked Kimiko to break his arm. Of all the things to do, of all the things to ask for, you're gonna do that. But you could have easily just said, "Yo, honestly, I have diarrhea." Like, I don't, easily, right? But that's me. So she gets he gets her to break his arm. MM's like, you know what I mean, right here, just clean break, so no permanent damage, right? Boom. First outlandish part. So it wasn't too outlandish, but even just asking that, like I was like, wild. So that happens. So he's able to obviously get off work. So he's able to go with them, with Butcher and to see Grace Mallory. So the majority of the episode is basically the rest of the team, like Butcher, and Huey, talking to Grace Mallory, finding out more information, providing us as the audience with more information, and Frenchie on his like side mission quest in a sense, because once he tells Sherry that he's not in that lifestyle anymore and he's heading home, he basically gets ran up on by like these mob mans that work for the girl that she lost the kilos for. And So he ends up getting kidnapped and going in front of this mob boss. And basically the episode is back and forth between his interaction with her and the Butcher, MM, Huey, and Gray stuff, right? And obviously the meat of the episode is in the Huey and MM and Butcher with Grace scenes where they're flushing out and explaining exactly what happened in Nicaragua and how Soulja Boy got killed, what actually killed him, because they're looking for this weapon that somehow killed Soulja Boy, so they're hoping that this weapon could kill Homelander, because that's the obvious goal, because we obviously get a part, because everybody knows that Homelander could just snap at any moment, so everybody's trying to just make sure they have a contingency. And yeah, there was just some good backstory scenes about Payback and Soulja Boy and just getting more about their characters and their personalities and the kind of guy that Soulja Boy is. And this was our first introduction, so I do think that this was just the start, and as I go through the episodes, we're going to get more introductions to Jensen, Ackles, Soulja Boy, and how he's going to play a crucial part in this whole entire thing. So I'm interested to see that. And also, I forgot, closer to the end, what's also like another plot that's going on interwoven in the other two stories is basically the Starlight back in the VOT areas dealing with the VOT bullshit, like the contracts and the Homelander bullshit, like the on the front lines dealing with the bullshit, like in the back, Annie's dealing with all that, Starlight's dealing with all that. So while they're doing all that, their mission stuff, she's basically filming the TV show where they're trying to look for new members of the Seven. And there comes a point where she puts her foot down and she's like, you know what? I want this individual of like Arab descent to be in the Seven, because like she's trying to expand the Seven. And Homelander, obviously, nah, that's not happening. You know what I mean? We're American. How are we gonna have like a Arab in the Seven? You know what I mean? Classic talk, right? But that's his character. So that story is basically playing out through the episode, and Homelander obviously most likely to slight Annie, and Deep's probably been begging for time. But Homelander suggests that he wants to bring Deep back into the Seven, and Annie's like, nah, fuck that. Like, this guy like mouth raped me, and like I'm not trying to deal with that. So, you know what I mean? Like I totally get that. And Homelander was like, nah, like this is happening. Like this is happening. And she threatens after that, after like he drops to her that he wants to bring back Deep and they leave the room. She drops and threatens to Homelander that what about the Flight 037 video, the scene where like in season 1, I think, where he doesn't save anybody on the plane and he just kind of jumps off and flies off and holds Maeve, and all those people kind of crash to their deaths. So she's talking about that video, and he was just like, you know what? He's like, what I realized, he's like, I want people to love me, but he's like, having them fear me is like a A1, is like a close second. And it's just, you see him just kind of turning and getting more twisted and getting more just diabolical. And it's not even like on purpose. It's just like, he's just not caring and giving a fuck anymore. So with that just comes with, and because he's so powerful, comes with that more menacing and more just like devastating force and just meanings behind his words, because he just really doesn't give a fuck. And it's just honestly like Antony Starr, like I've said in the last two reviews, yo, that guy is a monster. Like he is such a great actor. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get on them levels. Honestly, like he is so good. And I keep saying like he would be an amazing Reverse Flash. Like he is, every time he's on screen, like I actually get chills. Like he's menacing, absolutely menacing. And like in this moment, he basically says to Starlight, he's like, yeah, you could release it. But then he's like, I'll have nothing to lose. And he's like, you know what? I'll start with this. And he starts naming off just like, I'll start with the hospitals, the nerve centers, Washington, D.C., all these certain places. And he's like, then I'll start going like for the telecommunication centers, like internet and cell and all that stuff. And the man starts naming off things that he would just go after to just done off the entire infrastructure of like our society. And like, yeah, I'd get shook too, and Starlight gets scared and basically kind of rescinds the threat, and he moves on. So that was a big scene between them. And continuing on with that storyline, she basically tries to get Supersonic, which is like the person that she had a relationship like when she was younger with, and she tries to basically convince this man to not join the Seven because it's twisted and it's not what it seems. And because he's actually like a genuine friend, he's like, when I was in trouble, he's like, you didn't abandon me. He's like, I'm not gonna like leave you in this situation, with this fucked up situation, dealing with all these people and all these fucked up people just by yourself. So he's like, yo, I got you. So he ends up getting chosen in the Seven, and at the end of the episode, they end up showing that they're bringing Deep back into the episode. And this was a nice little kind of like just circle around from the beginning of the episode. So it's the beginning of the episode actually starts off. I messed up in the beginning where it started off with the boys kind of gathering. It actually started off with Starlight, young Starlight, maybe like 12, doing like a pageant show, trying to show off her skills and her on the circuit, I'm guessing, and her mom trying to push her to be and get her to that place where she could be like a main superhero for VOT, right? That pageant period. And in this scene, like she's voicing to her mom that she's like, I'm not feeling well, like my stomach's hurting. And she's like, no, it's not your stomach. And she's like, no, like she's like, it's my side. Like I'm really feeling like a lot of pain. And her mom like basically gives her the speech, as opposed to like being there for her and like really supporting her. She's just like, no, you got to push through this. This is what winners do. Like, and she hits her with a saying like, pain is just something leaving the body, or so. I can't. It's just feelings leaving the body or something. I can't exactly remember the quote, but basically just being like, pain is just means it's going away. It's getting better, right? So just tough it out and go do what you have to do, right? And like to tough it out, it showed that she kind of came up with this coping mechanism where she would kind of ball up her hand in a fist and put it behind her back and just like really, really hold it really tight to kind of push through the pain. And near the end, when they end up picking Supersonic and they're filming, because it's for TV also, so they pick Supersonic, they pick Deep, and basically Homelander confesses his love to Starlight as a ploy to get more points for popularity. And she kind of like goes numb, and you see it on her face, and like she's actually a really good actor too, and you see it on her face. And it really just resonates with her, like, what just happened? And, like, obviously she remembers the conversation from him being like, I'll go crazy. So she's, like, doesn't want to say anything. And they're asking her, like, the producers in the back are like, are you okay? Are you okay? And she was like, yeah, let's run it again. And they run it again, and she ends up kissing him, right, to kind of sell it more. And then you see her do the same thing where she balls up her hand and puts it behind her back, signaling that she's in pain and she doesn't really want to do this, but she's just pushing through. So it was a nice little circle around, and that was obviously a nice piece of foreshadowing in the beginning first scene. But that was real. I really liked that. So getting back more to the meat of the episode, with regards to the Grace Mallory stuff, the only other stuff that happened is in that scene was, or in those scenes, was Butcher basically having like a hard time holding back like the side effects. Like he was feeling like his stomach was feeling really off. He went to the bathroom. His laser eyes were kind of like peeking through, but he was like holding it back. So there was a lot of side effects. And sorry, a point that I missed, there was actually a dinner between Ashley, the redhead like CEO girl, Deep, his wife, and Homelander, to celebrate Deep coming back into the fold. And Homelander is such a twisted, sick fuck. Like, you know, he does all this shit on purpose. I was dying at this part. So they're having this dinner and they wheel in the food. And what's on the food cart? All seafood. The only thing I see on that bitch is lobster. So I'm dying to myself instantly, because I'm just like, one, you know, Homelander purposely planned this, and you know Deep is just not going to be about this. Like, and I'm literally sitting there like, yo, this man's about to eat like his best friend's lobster son or something, some nonsense, right? So I was dying. Homelander goes over, cracks the lobster, and you know what I mean? No effort for him, just cracks that, and he puts it on a plate, and he gives it right to Deep, and he's like, yeah, there you go. And then it just cuts to like them at the table, and they're just, Ashley, the wife, Homelander, they're just eating like barbarians, all this fish food, and you just see Deep just getting nauseous. And I'm like, that's why I had to wear my Aquaman shirt. Shout out Deep. Deep's actually an underrated character, and I actually, when in season 1, I actually was not a fan of this guy. And then as it started going along, I'm like, yo, he's actually underrated, and he's actually such a good character and dynamic to the show. I actually really enjoy his character. So shout out to Deep. And he's just there getting nauseous about them eating all this. So that was funny in itself. And then the chef brings out the special plate. You know what I mean? It's on the thing, cover over and everything. And Homelander's like, the special meal. Brings it out, opens up the thing, and it's the octopus. And there's a scene a little bit earlier where Deep's having sex with his wife, and there's literally an octopus just suction cupped to the glass, and he's looking at the octopus. And the octopus, it just has like a little opening, and we all know what that little opening is about. You know what I'm saying? Or looks like. You know what I'm saying? So he's just looking at that opening, and obviously visualizing that instead of his woman. And he's talking about, are you gonna grab me with all 8 of your arms? And then the man finishes, and he's done. Okay, so that was just a wild part. Obviously, the boys is wild. So now circle it back to now this same octopus that he was just visualizing with is on this motherfucking plate in front of him. And Homelander is telling him to eat that motherfucker. His wife is messaging him is paging him on his phone, telling him, yo, eat that fucking octopus. You getting back in the 7. Eat that octopus. And this man's like, yo, that's Timothy. Like, that's one of my best friends. I'm like, yo, and I'm dying because I'm just like, I seen the Lobster, and I'm just like, yo, watch that be one of your best friends. Lo and behold, the man opens up the thing, and an octopus, the same octopus is on there. His best friend octopus. Yo, I was absolutely floored. This show is so funny. So funny. So that was just like a funny part that I had to get in before, that I forgot to mention before the actual, when I explained the whole part about Annie at the end, and they brought Deep back in. That was just a part that was mad funny in the middle. And so now jumping back to the meat of the episode, we see Butcher just having a hard time with the side effects, and they finally get back to the conversation, and they finally just find out that Soldier Boy, like they got ran up on by soldiers in their camp because of the bug superhero like gave away their position, which young Mallory warned them in the flashback. And there's a whole bunch of bloodshed. You can see that the superheroes were immature and not experienced, and like there was a lot of collateral damage from the superheroes' ends on her men, and she was like devastated. And it basically just cuts to, I think it was, I can't remember the girl's name. She's like, oh, Soldier, like they killed Soldier Boy. They somehow had a gun that was able to kill him, but they didn't really show it. And they saw and there was a helicopter flying away, and she mentioned, she's like, and they took his body away, and then it cut away, and you basically see after that they decide to leave. They have like a little interaction, and then they leave. Butcher has like a little spat with Ryan, not even a little spat, like a big spat, and it seems like there's obviously Ryan's not going to be really trustworthy of Butcher. And we see after that, because like they were all like looking at him like, oh, you're such an asshole, Kimiko comes back and is like, because Frenchie wasn't there, and she's talking to Frenchie like, oh, how do you work for someone like that? Right? And speaking of Frenchie, as I'm saying that their stories were interwoven, Frenchie was actually dealing with the Nina girl that him and Sherry worked for when they were younger. And she's basically like, where's Sherry? And he's like, I work for the CIA. I don't do that anymore. Like, that's not me. And yeah, we just get more of his character and more of how he used to be and how he is. And she ends up letting him go free. He comes back, and that's where Kimiko is like, how do you work for a man like Butcher? And Butcher, because they're all looking at Butcher like he's an asshole because of what he did to Ryan. And then there's a moment at the end of the episode where Huey is talking to Butcher, and he's like, I get why you did it. He's like, the gloves are off right now. And he's just like, Ryan can't be around. And he's just like, we're going to have to do things that make you in a bad light to him to get this done. So you're just painting that image for him already with this action before all that stuff pops off. And as he's kind of like in the middle of it, you see him just, and this is the last outlandish thing, you see him just throw up on him. And that caught me so off guard. And he was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, yeah, I would have like, yo, I would have said the same thing. Like, I was so thrown off with that. But yeah, that's the majority and recap of episode 3. Again, really good episode. Obviously not a lot of action and not as much outlandish bloodshed, lawlessness like the coat man in the cocaine bag. But there was still some foolishness with a lot of good character stuff and a lot of good plot heavy moments in this episode. So good episode. And that's it for this review. If you think you would like content like this, hit the like button. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you think you would like content like this, trailer reactions, TV show reviews, movie reviews, sports discussions and debates, music, hip hop debates, and all that good entertainment talk, entertainment news, coverage, and scoops, subscribe to my channel. You won't regret it. It's got good content coming all the time. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.